Post 1. Setting the stage. I don't even know how to start this without sounding like some cliché traveling husband post, but I need to put it somewhere because my head's spinning. I've been married to Claire for 7 years. We met when I was 25 and just starting my career in international logistics. The kind of job where you're gone for weeks at a time, but the pay is incredible. From the start, I made it clear travel would always be part of my life. She swore she could handle it. For a while she did, or at least she pretended to. My job isn't just travel, no, it's managing accounts worth millions. My company moves high-value shipments, and I'm the one clients see when something really matters. When we got married, Claire and I made the deal that she'd manage our home life while I made the money. She didn't work. She said her job was to keep things running smoothly for me. Fine, I agreed. Because with my schedule, it was easier if she handled the day-to-day. I never thought twice about money. Every month I'd send her enough for all expenses plus a generous amount for whatever she wanted. I didn't micromanage. She had her own debit card to our joint account. And when she said she wanted to redecorate the living room, I just said, sure. When she wanted a new car, I said, go for it. I figured, what's the point of making good money if we can't enjoy it? Over the past year, though, things started feeling off. For one, Claire's spending ramped up a lot. Not just furniture and groceries, but $1,000 girls' weekends, spa packages, and luxury handbags she found on sale. I'd glance at the account, see the numbers, and tell myself, whatever. She's not bothering me about money, it's fine. I was averaging 20 days a month away from home, so it's not like I was going to fight about a handbag over the phone from Singapore. But then the withdrawals started. Cash, large amounts, and every time I asked, she had an excuse. It's just easier to tip the cleaning lady in cash. The boutique only takes cash for big purchases. None of it made sense, but I let it slide, because the last thing I wanted was a fight before flying 14 hours to meet a client. The other thing, our relationship had gone from affectionate but distant to purely distant. When I'd get home, she'd act happy for a day, maybe 2, and then it was like I wasn't even there. I'd ask if she wanted to go out, and she'd say she was tired. I'd suggest we take a trip together between my contracts, and she'd say, you just got back, I don't want to travel. This has been going on for months, and I've been telling myself it's stress, or we're just settling into a long-term rhythm, but something's been gnawing at me, a gut feeling that I've been trying to ignore. And then came the thing that started this whole mess. Last week I got an email from my bank about a flagged transaction, not suspicious in the fraud sense, but large enough to trigger their automatic review. It was for a deposit to a luxury hotel in the same city I just left, on a week when Claire had told me she was visiting her cousin. I called her right away. She was calm, too calm, and said it was just a weekend away with some girlfriends, and she'd used my card because she'd left hers at home. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the image of that hotel logo burned into my brain. That's when I decided I'd stop ignoring my gut. I've booked a longer gap between trips, 2 full weeks at home, and I'm going to start looking for answers. I've never snooped before, but I can't keep pretending everything's fine while thousands are vanishing and my wife acts like I'm a houseplant in the corner. I have a sinking feeling I'm not going to like what I find. Post 2, the first crack in the mask. So I got home a few days ago. First thing I noticed was the house was spotless, like magazine cover spotless. At first, I thought, nice, she cleaned up for me. But the thing is, Claire never cleans before I get home. Normally, I walk in to see piles of laundry, half-empty coffee cups, and whatever craft project she's abandoned on the dining room table. It didn't feel like my house, it felt staged. She greeted me like she always does. Smile, hug, kiss on the cheek. But even that felt rehearsed. I know that sounds paranoid, but it was like she was hitting her marks in a play. I told her I'd be home for 2 weeks. She froze for half a second before recovering and saying, "Oh, great, we can finally spend some quality time together." But then she immediately followed it with, "Just so you know, I already have a few plans with friends this week." I let it go. I wasn't going to tip my hand yet. That night, I waited until she fell asleep. Then I went to the home office. I pulled up our bank account on my laptop and scrolled back through the last few months. The cash withdrawals were all from ATMs near upscale restaurants, hotels, and boutiques. No grocery store runs, no hardware store, and always in round numbers. $500, $800, $1,000. There was also a repeating charge I'd never noticed before, every other Friday, like clockwork, to a place called the Sterling Club. I Googled it. Private members-only lounge, high-end dining, cigar bar. Memberships start at $4,000 a year. I sure as hell never signed up for it. I checked our credit card statements next. That's when I saw the hotel charges again. Same luxury chain, different cities. Some of them lined up perfectly with the weekends she'd told me she was visiting her cousin or helping a friend move. I closed the laptop before I could keep spiraling. If I kept digging, I'd find more, and I wasn't ready to see all of it at once. The next day, I casually asked her about the Sterling Club. She didn't miss a beat. "Oh, that's where my friend Amber works now. She gets me in for free sometimes, but the drinks are pricey, so I use your card." Amber, by the way, is someone I've met maybe twice in my life. The kind of friend Claire only mentions when she needs a convenient alibi. Here's the thing. I'm still not accusing her. Not yet. I've seen enough to know something's going on, but I also know Claire well enough to understand that if I go at her too soon, she'll lock down. She'll hide the rest. So instead, I'm making my own plans. I've already reached out to a friend who works in corporate security for a major hotel chain. He owes me a favor. I'm going to find out exactly who's been in those rooms with her. I also have a client dinner next week that I'll regretfully have to attend alone, but I won't actually be at dinner. I want to catch her without any wiggle room, without the possibility of her spinning this as just friends or you're imagining things. Because if my gut is right, and I'm pretty sure it is, the money's not the only thing she's been spending behind my back. Post 3. The receipts start piling up. The client dinner excuse worked perfectly. Claire kissed me goodbye, told me to have fun networking, and went back inside. 10 minutes later, I was parked a block away, watching the front of our house. I didn't have to wait long. A black BMW pulled up, and a guy in his late 30s, tailored suit, expensive watch, walked right up to the door like he owned the place. She let him in immediately. No hesitation, no "who is it?" Just a smile, a hand on his arm, and the door closing behind them. I took photos. Not just one, several, including the moment her hand lingered on his chest. I sat there for about an hour, my phone buzzing with networking dinner texts from her. At one point, she sent a selfie from a restaurant, clearly taken earlier or somewhere else entirely, because the timestamp on my camera roll said she was very much still in our living room with BMW guy. When I finally drove away, I wasn't ready to go home. I went to see my buddy, who works in hotel security. He'd pulled up the records I asked for. Same guy, checked into multiple hotels with her, always under his name, but with a +1 listed. Security footage confirmed it was Claire. Dates matched the ATM withdrawals and Sterling Club charges. The next day, I dug deeper into our finances. That's when I found out the real gut punch. She'd drained a joint investment account I'd been building for years. Not cleaned it out completely, but taken enough that my upcoming business expansion was now in jeopardy. Tens of thousands gone. And here's the kicker. She'd done it in smaller withdrawals spread over months, like she thought I wouldn't notice. I showed the hotel photos and financial records to my friend Mike. He's the kind of guy who's blunt to a fault. His only response was, "You're sitting on dynamite and you want her to light the fuse herself." He's right. If I just dump this on her at home, she'll play the victim, cry, maybe even spin it to her family that I'm controlling and invading her privacy. But if I can get her to expose herself in public, if the people who've always thought she's a saint see the truth firsthand, that's the kind of fallout you can't PR your way out of. So I've started planning something bigger, something she can't squirm out of. I know when her parents are throwing their next big dinner party. I also know BMW guy's name now. And I have an idea for an invitation he won't be able to refuse. Post 4. The setup nobody sees coming. Claire thinks this is just another of her parents' fancy dinners. She told me about it casually a week ago, assuming I wouldn't come. Of course, she framed it like she was making the gracious gesture of inviting me. It might be good for appearances if you were there, for my parents. What she doesn't know is that 2 days earlier I reached out to Gavin. Well, reached out is putting it politely. I used a burner email, posed as an event planner for the dinner venue, and sent him an invitation for a surprise engagement opportunity. Told him Claire had arranged for him to pop the question in front of her closest family and friends to make it extra special. Even threw in some fluff about her being too shy to tell him herself, and how this would be the perfect moment to seal their future. His response? Immediate excitement. He wanted to know if he could bring champagne. Meanwhile, Claire is completely in the dark. She thinks it's going to be a safe, stuffy evening. Her parents, a few close family friends, maybe some work acquaintances, the same circle she's been trying to climb for years. I didn't even confirm with her that I'd be there until the day before. Yeah, sure, I'll come, I told her over text. Might be good to see everyone. She sent back a thumbs up emoji like she couldn't care less. But me, I've got the stage set. Gavin's got a ring in his pocket. And about 20 people Claire desperately wants to impress will be watching when the floor drops out from under her. I don't even have to say a word yet. Post 5. The Dinner from Hell revised. The country club was buzzing that night. Polite laughter, clinking glasses, the faint notes of a string quartet in the corner. Claire was glowing, the perfect picture of upper-class poise, drifting between conversations like she was hosting the Oscars. She didn't notice Gavin walk in. I had timed it perfectly. He was in a dark tailored suit, hair slicked back, clutching a velvet ring box like it was the Holy Grail. Without hesitation, without even looking around the room, Gavin made a beeline for Claire. She turned, caught sight of him, and her smile faltered, just for a second. Then he dropped to one knee. Gasps rippled through the room. Claire's parents froze mid-conversation. The string quartet actually stopped playing. Claire, Gavin said, his voice trembling just enough to sound earnest, will you marry me? Claire's face was an Oscar-worthy performance. Wide eyes, a hand to her chest, and then immediate indignation. What? I don't even know you like that. This is completely inappropriate. A few guests chuckled awkwardly, assuming it was some kind of tasteless prank. Gavin looked up at her, confused. What are you talking about? She cut him off sharply. Number, you're mistaken. I don't know where you got this idea, but you need to leave. Now. Her voice carried across the entire dining room. You could feel the collective discomfort pressing in like humidity before a storm. Gavin's confusion morphed into panic. Claire, don't do this. Don't pretend. I'm not pretending anything, she snapped, stepping back from him. You're making a fool of yourself. He was on the verge of standing up when something in his eyes shifted. Desperation. He fumbled into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. Fine. If you're going to act like I'm some stranger... His fingers shook as he unlocked it, swiping too fast. Claire reached toward him. Gavin, stop. Then maybe they should see the truth, he blurted. He tapped into his messages and spun the phone toward the nearest onlooker, his hand unsteady. Look, these are her texts to me. On the screen, Claire's name, little hearts in the contact name, and a stream of messages. Last night was perfect. I wish I could wake up next to you every day. I think I love you. The woman looking at the phone audibly gasped. Gavin, not realizing he'd swiped too far, landed on a photo of them together, him shirtless in bed, Claire curled against him. It was cropped enough to be PG-13, but the implication was undeniable. He went pale. I didn't mean to. He tried to back out of the photo, but Claire lunged for the phone, hissing, "Give me that!" The movement just made it worse. A few people had already seen enough to whisper to their neighbors. Claire's mother put a hand over her mouth. Her father looked like he was about to stand up and throttle someone. I just sat there swirling my wine, watching Claire's perfect little world collapse in real time. Claire tried one last time, her voice breaking. "He's lying. This is all fabricated somehow." Gavin's voice cracked. "Claire, you told me you loved me. You said you'd leave him." And there it was, the pin dropping in a room where every single person now knew exactly what had been going on. I set my wine down and finally spoke. "Well," I said, "this is awkward." The explosion came seconds later. Claire yelling at Gavin, Gavin stammering, her parents demanding explanations, guests whispering, waitstaff pretending not to listen. And I was just enjoying dessert. Post 6, after the collapse, the dinner never recovered. Half the guests made excuses to leave within 10 minutes. The other half stayed, pretending to be polite while craning their necks for more drama. Claire bolted outside first, Gavin right on her heels, both of them shouting over each other. Her parents stormed out a moment later. I stayed seated for a while, finishing my steak, because after everything she'd put me through, I was going to get my damn money's worth. When I finally walked outside, Claire was in the parking lot, crying into her mother's arms. Gavin was leaning against his car, red-faced, fumbling with his keys like he wanted to disappear. Claire's father turned to me, his voice low and venomous. "You've embarrassed our family." I almost laughed. "I embarrassed your family? You might want to ask your daughter about the messages before you go blaming me." Claire screamed, "You set me up!" And I didn't deny it. I just shrugged. "I invited someone you've been spending a lot of time with. Didn't expect a proposal, though. That part was a surprise." Her mother glared like she wanted to slap me. Gavin, still stuck there, blurted out, "I thought she was going to say yes. She said she wanted to be with me." That was the final nail in the coffin. Claire's parents both turned to look at her. She started sputtering about misunderstandings and friendship, but nobody was buying it anymore. The next morning, I called a lawyer. By lunch, I had the divorce paperwork started. I also made sure Gavin's little message history and the PG-13 photo had been safely backed up. Within a week, word got around. Claire's friends, the same upper-class crowd she'd spent years impressing, stopped inviting her anywhere. Her job at a PR firm ended amicably, which I later learned was code for, "We can't have your scandal tied to the company." Gavin tried reaching out to me once, apologizing for how things went down, but I ignored him. I wasn't interested in bonding with the guy who helped blow up my marriage. The divorce was straightforward. She knew if we went to court, every ugly detail would be on record. She took a smaller settlement than she could have gotten just to make it go away faster. And me? I moved out, sold the house, and got a fresh start. I still see some of those country club folks around, and every now and then someone smirks and says, "That dinner was unforgettable." Good, I want them to remember. Claire built her entire identity on status, appearances, and controlling the narrative. All it took was one night, one uninvited guest, and one velvet ring box to rip it all apart. So am I the jerk for orchestrating that little surprise? Maybe, but it was the most satisfying dessert I've ever had.